Alright, let's go ahead and get into session. So, you guys are in Skaven. So, Haken's recap. With Felix and Kara in room, I've had the rest of the party begin to pack our things. We've begun to attract too much attention, and I believe we've garnered the information we need. I've had the rest of the party begin to pack our things, as it's about time that we be moving on. We've attracted a bit too much attention, and there's other places that we should be, where the information we've gathered is useful. However, given our unwillingness to leave Jornir behind, good unwillingness, mind you, but 'tis the stubbornness that is beneficial to us here. Given that we are unwilling to leave him behind, it is going to be best that Felix argue on his and our behalf to get him out. Bear in mind that this will reflect upon all of us, so getting him out must be primary concern, as will be throwing of the dice. See, now I'm trying to figure out who we've got to determine what we need to do. Like you're trying to sound like Chris Hemsworth is Thor. Lol. Not intentionally. Not intentionally. And I'm pretty sure I'm, maybe in my mind I was a little higher than Chris. Where'd you go, cat? I have cats all around here. Yeah, no, I think it's just the three of you. For the court case, we have exactly who we need. We have the defendant, Jornir, Felix, who will be representing Jornir, and by virtue, the remainder of us. And then we have the position of the defendant's bailiff, of which Kara, you will be taking that position. Any questions other than, is this cat cute? I believe the answer is yes, the kitty is being cute. Ah, Freakness. Glad to hear that you have finished your packing for our journey out of the city. Therefore, we will have you as the secondary defendant's bailiff, there to ensure that the proceedings are fair and that violence does not break out unless it needs to. Meanwhile, in prison, Jornir yells, "Can I get a barrel of the scorpion poison alcohol?" Guard, no. We do not fund you. You're a vampire. You have neither need of food or drink. Therefore, we will not feed you or water you. Nor will we bleed for you. The guard sighs, having answered probably the 100th response tonight. Vampires also don't need to sleep, is my understanding. I don't have need for it, but it's great to have. Joy killer. Jornir hears the eye roll from his cell. Also, this got bumped. Probably when it fell. There we go. Flatten that up. It isn't long before the sun has risen, peeking through the bars of the window that have been boarded over, as they seem to think you'd have some way of getting out. Though, as Thrafi, you do have no way of escaping. The shackles, then brought up, are attached to 2 armed guards, who are in a procession of 4 armed guards. 2 of them, they shackle your left and your right to them, and proceed to begin walking you toward the court. Go ahead and give me a perception roll on your way in. 8. There seem to be an inordinate amount of armed guards present, and they are all watching you as you go into the courtroom that they seem to be standing outside. You didn't count, you weren't thinking to count, and before long you are escorted into the courtroom where you will be meeting up with the party. Alright, let's see if this screws anything up. Yeah, I've got to turn on the display capture here. Yoink. Kitty getting settled in. Kartoffel's back. Awesome. Felix, I am glad to see you have finished your morning preening. It looks you up and down. Maybe too fancy, but can't help but impress the judge, I say. Are we ready to go? And are there any questions before we head off? Yes, Felix says. Is there anything that should be avoided in discussion with the crowns? Not really. Stay out of politics, stick on the case. And sticking with the case should be good here. The judges are notably apartisan. As such, they are neither crowns nor forebear. However, we do need to be careful that we avoid bringing that up as an issue. As you guys begin to talk, Hacken's group, you can see that by and large the wagon has been prepped to leave as soon as you guys are done with the conversation, done with the trial. You begin to exit. Resolve the trial of Jornier. He's accused of vampirism. Figure out a way to not get him burned. After a short walk, you guys enter into the courtroom. The table, set up in a circle, one half for the defendants, one half for the prosecution. I will take perception rolls from everyone on your way in. D20s. Is there any law forbidding vampirism? Actually, yes. Specifically, there are rules pertaining to the dead and where they should be. D20 plus 0, nat 20. Hee hee! So, the tale of two perceptions. Freakness. Soon as he walks through the door, he's just locked eyes with the bailiff for the other side, who also appears to be functioning as the prosecutor, the captain of whom you were on the mission with. Not willing to break the staring contest that exists between them, all he is able to perceive about the room is the captain's eyes, their gaze unflinching. Kara, looking around, sees an advantageous position that has a blind spot, just kind of settles in using one of the chairs as half cover. Jornier is over on your side and is in the possession of the defense for the time of the trial. However, Felix enters the room with a perception expanded. The universe is more than what mere mortal eyes can see, for he has the eyes of a bard, and the eyes of the bard perceive everything that goes on in the room. Notably, unknown or unbeknownst to any other person in the room, there is a faint rune that appears to be set underneath the carpet and covers most of the hallway. No one appears to make note of it, and you've even got to just, if you're real quiet, and if Jornier would just shut up, you can hear it, the faintest of all magical hums, indicating that the room is charged with magic. You are the only person in the room who appears to notice this. Outside, on the door where the prosecution would come from, you could hear what sounds like a small battalion of soldiers, and whispers among them, "Just wait for the orders. Got it." Freakness striving not to blink, his eyes straining and beginning to well up as he's holding strong, he approaches, and then stubs his toe on the desk provided. At which point, he just kind of blinks at that. Am I going to have to fight barehanded? If you get into a fight during this, yes. Also unarmored. The judge, a sad-jawed individual who appears to have taken some beatings at some point. Maybe a veteran, maybe a soldier, but seems to be a keen legal mind. He looks you all up and over, and after passing some paperwork over to Hacken, who reviews it and signs off as the defense, the captain, looking at it, sees it and signs off as well. The judge turns to you all. "So, the reason why we are here is," he motions to a cleric who is in the room, who casts Detect Undead. "As you can all see, the defendant Jornier is a vampire. He was apprehended following the captain cuts in, "a disturbance. He was disturbing the peace in the market district. I am in control of these proceedings at the moment. Yes, a disturbance of the peace led to his discovery. Though I will note, the vampirism is the crime. He came in with your group of traders, and as such, you are all co-defendants for aiding and abetting a vampire entering this city. That is, for the record, the city of Skaven. A stenographer in the back writes that out. Given that the charge is laid out and plainly made clear, I will ask Felix, you said? Yes. Felix, you may present the defense. The captain, seemingly thinking this is an easy case, just sits back, smiles, waiting to hear. Now the cases here are open forum. You are welcome to engage, discuss, question. You have free reign of the floor and free reign of discussion. Yes, you are welcome to roll fame first if you want. So Freakness, during the entire time the judge was going on, starts closing his eyes and pondering what an extra hour of sleep would have felt like. Then he hears the whiny tone of the prosecutor. He opens his eyes, just enough to glare with disdain. And then just, as the judge is scolding the prosecutor and charges them all with aiding and abetting Jornir, he begins to just look at Jornir with the anger. Seething, but understanding. Meanwhile, Jornir sets himself up in the most menacing of poses that he can set up. The captain seems to be keeping his distance as he is nervous that the vampire might reach out and attack him at any moment. Felix opens. As you may have heard of me, I am quite renowned and known for my work. I can assure you, my word will be upheld. Yes, I do seem to know you. You're the bard with the nine-legged spider. Quite a good song. However, that does not prove your innocence, nor will it. You must prove your innocence on the facts rather than your singing. And I might remind the defendant that he should not be threatening the court. It does not look good upon any of you, and it is my sole right to decide in this case. Should I feel that threats are being issued, and that the public good will be earned by burning you, I assure you your dust will be put to good alchemical use. Meanwhile, you can hear the stenographer in the background humming the tune of the nine-legged spooter. It appears that favor has been curried with the people. Felix begins. Then, shall we begin? There is a misunderstanding with this Nord whom we stand trial alongside. Meanwhile, Freakness, just noting to the side one of the court attendants. We do hold general disdain toward the captain for his racial profiling against Jornir. That being stated, we will hold our emotions in check going forward. The judge, having overheard that, nods while listening to Felix, and the attendant goes on to write that into the record, noting that was very well inspired for an orc. Felix, unperturbed, continues. We have traveled a great distance with Jornir here. We have traveled a great distance with Jornir. We've covered a great distance all over Tamriel, and have seen many threats towards Tamriel. I assume that's threats and not treats. The judge, sitting there, just kinda nods. The captain appears to be getting impatient. And, if I am to be correct, Felix states, the company who hired us has had many threats apprehended through their efforts. I can assure you, if they had a problem, Jornir would have been dealt with there. The judge, pondering. This company you said that hired you, who are they? Do you speak of Hacken and his trading guild? Or are you referring to the outing, upon which the disturbance followed on the heels of? The captain interjects. There is no time for this. We know that he's a vampire. As he's a vampire, we should burn him now. Why would we wait? Felix says, I speak upon the efforts of the Empire. Freakness asks to speak. The orc is recognized to speak up. Jornir mutters, you can burn me, but only if you cut out the captain's tongue for the speed at which we are being rushed. Being Orzamer has offered me a effect on my outlook. Our dear friend, dare I say, Jornir, has become afflicted with a disease not of his own choosing. You plead sickness as a mitigating factor. He turns to the prosecution. Your response. Yes. Our laws are clear. The sickness killed him when he became a vampire. As he was killed, he is to have been buried. The reanimation is quite simply of the Daedra and is not natural. Our laws, in their infinite foresight, said that such creatures were to be burned. The Magical College could also make use of his alchemical regents, created via his death. As such, we should seek to make his death permanent, rather than maintain the illusion under which it persists. On the contrary, Felix speaks up, we've had our work accounted for in Daggerfall. You may have heard of us dealing in the lands of Hammerfell. The judge shakes his head. We have not, nor are we concerned with your actions elsewhere. This is a trial concerning his being in this city. Well, all the while we were up there, Freakness continues, we were serving the greater good for the company he was hired for. Further, he has committed no actual crime other than simply existing. And I too have been accused of the crime of existing, where others believe I should not have. Kartoffel speaks up in a command toward the captain. Captain, you speak of actions you have not witnessed. Be quiet and allow me to explain his being for the vampire affliction. The captain, seemingly at the sharp rebuke, obeys, and is silenced for the time. Kara is recognized to speak. This one is unaware of the laws forbidding him from entering the city. We have no wish nor reason to stay any longer. We may leave immediately, so long as we are no longer breaking your laws. Felix chimes in. In our long journey, we were assumed to be stalked by a vampire whom knows of Jornir. This beast I speak of was the one who cursed him into this damnation. It was this beast that I warned your guards of the night prior. This beast that truly threatens your city. The judge looks. You are turning to Jornir. So you are planning to leave, should you be permitted to. You have no desire here. After looking at Jornir, he then looks up to Hacken. Yes, it is our intent to leave the city immediately following this court case. The captain just kind of smiles and looks. You think you have authority here? There's no authority in this room. Judge, you had an easy decision before you, the consequences of which, at which point there is a sharp silence, as well as the sounding of crashing, shattering, as well as screams of pain coming from outside the door. The captain instinctively looks behind, and at that moment, the entirety of the room lights up into a blue. The rune that Kartoffel saw underneath the carpet and floor appears to have been triggered. And as such, everyone begins levitating, just off the floor, floating. Blue da-boo-dee da-boo-da, da-boo-dee da-boo-da, da-boo-dee da-boo-da. During this, the door to the courtroom through which the prosecution entered is shattered open, and flying in comes the vampire. Everyone still floating through levitating. He dances through the guards who are floating and unable to wield their weapons, slaughtering them while moving effortlessly. Moving up to the captain, he quickly decapitates him and begins to assault the judge and wipe out the court. Just as quickly as he arrives and clears out the room, he disappears. You guys all fall to the ground, and Hacken just says, "We need to get out of here now," and begins running out the door, knowing that under no circumstances will this end properly for you now. The last thing they heard before they were slain was Kartoffel pointing, "This here is the beast you are looking for!" So fleeing out into the courtyard, already there's a commotion beginning to join around. Hacken, meeting up with Aisha, grab the wagon and go. He's got you all beginning to move. Freakness, taking his weapon, smashes the restraints, holding Jornir. That will assist him in moving out. And with the utmost haste, you make for the gate of Skaven and flee the city. Wandering out into the desert, You have time to reflect. Do I have a slide here with Hacken? I don't. Whoops. Hacken just kind of sighs. Well, I think we had won the court case. However, that beast seemed to have other ideas, as did the captain. Hacken just kind of has a weird look about him. Jornir, your progenitor, that is the term I shall use. He acted to save us, as there appeared to be a contingent of armed soldiers and a plot afoot. Also, after he had killed the captain, he had thrown this to me. He lays down a packet of papers, upon which in elegant writing is scrawled, "You're welcome. As we wander in the desert, surely you can give us some of your history with this beast. Also, whom wishes to go through the pamphlets?" He looks on who he wants to hand the paperwork off to. Kara snarling, "Yes, Jornir, this friend of yours is quite troublesome." Saying that, Kara grabs the papers. "Go ahead and give me a books check." "It's a small and quick story," Jornir says. "I prefer not to talk about it. However, I do need to mention some things now." Kara starts leafing through, and there's a lot of jargon, so having trouble connecting the dots. But what appears to be clear here is one small bit of paper where it states that the guards had orders to go in and attack. +1, a 9 total. The rest of the paper's going to take time to sit down and get through, or someone else is welcome to assist. Meanwhile, Felix, so we've got goblin uprisings, Red Guard rebellions, a vampire reaper. Just another day with Hacken. Throwing his arm around Hacken, let's read through this. Opens it up, begins to piece things together. He begins to find a couple notes that appear to be some sort of internal correspondence. It appears that you guys had been marked for some form of trouble to affect you guys. And the captain was seeking to use the surprise that one of you was a vampire as a way to dispose of the party. Freakness just kind of looks at it, puts on some kind of magnifying lens that fits onto his orcish frame, but barely. Begins to just kind of pick them up with care, look over at them. Meanwhile, Felix, when did you become literate? What Freakness quickly puts together is connecting the remainder of the dots. It appears that there was a crown group within the city that is looking to foment a rebellion. Knowing that you guys came in with Hacken, and they know that Hacken is a collaborator with the Empire, you all walked in with a target on your backs. The fact that the goblins had interacted with you before then added an extra target to you. What he is able to connect then is that they were setting up the court case to end in either a guilty hearing or a bloodbath that would have been blamed upon the vampire, with the judge and court officials being unfortunate casualties. What's notable is that this is not written in the vampire's handwriting. Rather, it appears that your vampire friend, or vampire reaper, henceforth known as Tim, it appears that Tim has collected these documents and provided them to you. What does any of this explain about the rune? None of it even mentions the rune. So after Freakness finishes connecting the dots, Jornir, having been given a second to recompose himself, it was on my wedding day. That vampire, with a couple fledglings, attacked and slaughtered everyone. I was attacked as well. I'm not sure how I came out living, and I don't understand if it was on purpose or if it was by mistake. However, it appears that that beast now has some sort of goal. What that goal is beyond what I understand. However, it does appear to have something in mind for me and or for us. Tim was the Brotherhood assassin on day 2. Tim is the generic enemy who you don't know the name of. The vampire has a name, but you don't know it, so you don't get to know it. Freakness sets the papers down, gently folds his reading lenses, puts them back into their silken cloth, wipes sweat from his brow with the back of his hand, and proclaims his need for a strong ale. There's a keg on the back of the wagon, Felix responds as he begins poring over the papers. Meanwhile, Kara sulks, having not been given time to properly analyze everything before her. I dropped 2 die. It's the pink D20. I'd rather like to get that one back. Aha. It rolled a 17. Not that I need a 17 for anything. Conversation having drawn on, Hacken interjects. We have really 2 options here. We are welcome to pursue the vampire, should you view that to be decent. Alternatively, we would need to process the information we have regarding the crowns. And if it is true that they are seeking to foment a civil war, see how we can seek to avoid that. It is what the Empire would want, and it is what I want for this land I live in. However, both options seem to be equally valid to me, and neither will be pursued in a vacuum. Given that this creature has a odd fascination for us, what do you as the party think our direction should be? This one thinks we should continue with our mission. We will deal with this beast as we may, Kara says. Felix's thoughts: this vampire will hunt us, but the Crown Civil War would spell trouble in the West. He nods. And I've seen the war strike in the East. We should strike against the war. Hacken nods. That is what I had hoped we were going to go for. So as you may be wondering where we are going, I know of help we can get in this area. A Bosmer by the name of Gelina. No, Gelnia. Gelnia, I believe, is the name that I know her under. She goes by many names, and is, or last I was aware, was investigating some things in the area. We will begin to head to the city where she had mentioned if I could find her, or if I needed to find her, where she would be. Oh, also, it's gonna be interesting. She's a fascinating individual. Works as something of a information broker for the High Elves. But the fact that she is up here could mean that it's related to whatever's going on. Other conversation continuing around. Jornir. One thing is for certain. Our shadow is strong. I was in over my head thinking I could hunt him down and slay him. As I see it, even as a group, he could slay us all if he wished. I think I should speak with him and see if there's some sort of deal I can strike with it. Freakness just mutters, to bargain with the beast could spell your doom. Aisha, speaking up from her silence and meditation. We should definitely investigate and deal with the most immediate danger. Let us deal with this civil war. She appears to be set in her mentality, leaving behind the indecisiveness that had led her thus far. The knight, Freakness kind of looking over, eyebrow cocked on his little orc forehead. The knight is awakened, it seems. Little half smile there to accompany it. Felix, you should heed your bargains carefully, Jornir. I know from experience with some friends. We'll call them friends. And the party heads out into the desert. Hacken knows the way and leads you on.